Greetings, YouTube. I trimmed my beard today. Hope I look a little less shaggy. I spend quite a bit of time on Amazon. I'm always looking for deals on tools and music and DVDs and, of course, books. In particular, things I purchase off the secondary used market. So whenever I'm there for any reason, I tend to throw in some term into the search engine that's vaguely gaming related and see what I get. So recently I threw in the term D20, and I got this book, Dark Inheritance. And it is a modern D20 campaign setting. It says, requires the use of the D20 Modern role-playing game published by Wizards of the Coast. This is not a complete standalone game. This is a campaign setting, so you will need the D20 rules to play. I think you could probably get away with the D20 SRD, which is out there, available on the net. They do make references to it by page number, but they're always referenced from a topic that you could easily figure out. When they're talking about magic, it's not hard to figure out. You talk about the magic chapter. Now, what intrigued me about this is that the game was advertised as a setting wherein the player characters are titans, inheritors of a genetic ancestry from the gods and monsters and god kings of the past. And that to me sounded a whole lot like Scion, except for the D20 Modern setting. So I figured, okay, it was a good price. Even with shipping, it was like $12. Figure I'd throw my $12 towards it and see what I get. I thought it was kind of nice because the front cover has got a little cheesecake as opposed to, a beefcake as opposed to cheesecake on it. It's nice to see a male figure being used that way instead of a female figure. And there's a very long and detailed history of this world. And I freely admit I did not get into every single detail of it. I got the general gist of it. Long and involved history of the world. We finally figured out what was going on, as in we as a species, when the Genome Project found the God gene. And people began to realize that there was something in us, or some of us at least, that was special. And these special people, the Titans, fall into one of 5 general categories. Now, the Scion game has traditions, as in you are from a tradition of a particular pantheon of gods: Greek, Norse, Native American, Chinese, Japanese. You're from a particular cultural background. And this setting has gone more generic. So they have different names, and the nice thing is that each of these 5 different traditions they give you a selection of options, so you don't have to use the names they're giving you. And it's very possible that different branches of each of these groups call themselves by different names, which could throw a little confusion into the mix, make you wonder, am I dealing with someone who I know, or is this entirely new branch kind of thing? If in the event that you're playing this as, we're just discovering this kind of thing. So the 5 different legacies, as they're called, there is the Crimson Lords. And the Crimson Lords are the decadent, hedonistic, would-be god kings. They view everybody, titans and humans, as people that should be listening to them. You people should really be following our lead. Very charisma-based. These are the nobility, the royalty of the world. At least that's how they see it. Then there are the Hidden Sons. And the Hidden Sons are the peoples that seek knowledge. These are the researchers, the librarians, the bookworms. Giles from Buffy, perfect example of a hidden son. And we have the Stormcrows. And the Stormcrows are both prophets and warriors. Very Nordic, strain here. That fatalism that was so rich amongst the Vikings. We're going to fight to the last man, but we know we're probably going to lose anyway. So I think it has a nice feel, and again, obviously, if you are into a martial type of character, here you go. Then we have the Void Phoenixes, and the Void Phoenixes are the quintessential nihilistic anarchists. They know that all of this is an utter and absolute illusion, and they are chaos personified. Their heritage is very demonic, and the other 4 legacies really question why the gods even allowed these things to exist. Then we have the last is the Wild Bloods. The Wild Bloods are the bestial legacy, the people who are really in touch with their animal legacies. These are the shape changers, the skinwalkers, the shifters. This is them right here. And they talk about the past. There was a rift that allowed demons to break into our world, known as the demon host. I think how demon host. I can't remember how they spelled it. So you've got these 5 legacies out there that could be player characters. You can play humans in this. They say it's balanced against the D20 humans, or balanced against the legacy Titans, because the Titans all have both good and bad things. I'll be honest, I'm not familiar enough in play with the D20 Modern system to tell you whether they're perfectly balanced or not. But they sound, at least on paper, balanced. You got the demon hosts out there as the bad guys, plus, of course, whatever bad guys there are in the real world. And this setting is full of hidden agendas and secret societies and little Lovecraftian things thrown in there. And you throw the Masons in and the Vatican. You could throw triads. All kinds of things you could throw into this mix to really create a deep and complex world. So I think if you really like real world politics, but with an otherworldly flavor, you're going to be doing this may do exactly what you want. Now, one of the things I really liked about this setting is that they give you different background allegiances. So the basic idea is how your characters come together as a group. For example, the Brotherhood of the Iron Rose, Vatican-based group of Catholics out there to fight demons. Okay, and they give you their goals and methods, the hierarchy of the organization, specific places and branches of the organization, very important NPCs, different internal factions that exist within the organization itself, because not everybody's going to be on the same team, even within the same organization. Then they give some nice little current plot lines. And the one thing I really liked is that they give, not like enemies and things like that, but they give inspirations. For example, a Brotherhood of the Wolf, The Exorcist, The First Power, Seven, The Prophecy, TV shows, Miracles, Millennium, books, The Fraternity of the Stone, the Night World series. So each of these different allegiances has information that you can read this and go, okay, I've seen, Lady Hawk. That'll give me a great idea of what they're talking about. I like that. The 8 Heavenly Dragons, which is a fusion of martial art Buddhists and a triad. Strange combination of mystical monks and crime lords, but quite interesting. And let's face it, if you're looking for interesting backgrounds, there you have one. First Team, amoral mercenaries based out of South America. If you want to play a group that is absolutely concerned about money and nothing else, here you go. This is a group that takes no contract longer than a month, and at the end of the month, they walk away. And if their contract is protect this guy over here for a week, and then someone's hired you to kill that guy, on day 8, he dies. So, I mean, very cutthroat kind of thing. If that is your preferred type of play, you're definitely going to find that. Then we have the Hugawatu, which is very much a group that is trying to enhance the god gene through breeding, whether people want to or not. So both tricking people into, donating their eggs or sperm, or convincing people to get hooked up together, or kidnapping them and breeding them intentionally. These people want to enhance this, which is very twisted and quite full of role-playing potentials. The International Geographic Society, which is basically the National Geographic, but out there to discover the really wacky, strange, paranormal things of the world. Again, a great idea. Then there is also the Project Titan, which is the hit squad branch of an organization of the U.S. government, kind of like the MIB. But these are the people out there on the sharp end. Now, again, each of these could be used as an entire campaign. You could steal elements from each of them if you wanted. And I think these would be useful in any campaign model. I really think that it transcends this particular product. Now, you have because this is a D20 Modern, you have those legacies, which are basically your race, and then you're going to be playing your character as one of these 6 archetype characters in the game: a strong character, fast character, tough character, smart character, dedicated character, or charismatic character. Because the D20 Modern uses character classes based on your stat. So you pick a stat you want to enhance, and you can play that up to 10 levels, or you can mix and match them. 5 levels of one, and then, so whatever you want to get for your mix of different traits and skills and things like that. And then you move on to an advanced level after 10, or you pick up a prestige class or something like that. They have in here some new traits and things, new feats, some new character concepts. Where was the... Shoot, sorry about this. Oh, they also have some new advanced classes. For example, there's a speed freak in here that's basically a chemically induced barbarian. So, yeah, you take methamphetamine to get really good in combat, that kind of thing, which is kind of warped. Made me think of riffs a little, but kind of warped. They have a super soldier who's genetically modified intentionally to be better, to be Captain America, essentially. And you can get different genetic traits in that class, which is pretty cool. And they also have one which is the Eldritch Monk, which is enhancing your martial arts capabilities with magical powers. So you're very much kind of the classic D&D monk, but in the D20 Modern setting. Then they have some prestige classes in the book, one of which stood out for me, which is basically a gun fu artist, someone that practices the art of using 2 pistols to the exclusion of anything else and is incredibly good with them. And a lot of these abilities are fueled by the action points, because the D20 Modern system does use action points. Now, after you have this, you have the different abilities each legacy has. You start out with 3 different powers from your legacy, and you fuel these powers by a skill-based check. And as you use these powers, you can accrue stress. So you make a stress roll every time you want to use one of your legacy heritage abilities. And you can spend an action point, I believe, to prevent the stress roll, but you only have so many action points. And if you fail this, if you end up accruing stress, eventually you're going to have to make a legacy resistance roll. And what happens if you fail this roll? You begin to manifest the traits of your God gene. Some of them are psychological or emotional. You start to become more and more like the legacy that's in your genes. You can become disinterested. You begin to, move away from humanity. It can be crippling. So, you could be a little insane. You could lose interest in things. There are physical things, like the Void Phoenixes become more demonic. The Wild Bloods become more bestial. And you can buy off of all of these abilities by spending action points and character experience points, things like that, to make them less prevalent or to suppress them temporarily with action points, things like that. And every one of your abilities has a potency level, which affects how good it is. The more power and more potency an ability has, the more oomph it's got, you can do more with it. Now, there's a lot of powers in here too, and what's interesting, they present the powers kind of like feat trees. So some of these powers are linear. Power 1, Power 2, Power 3. You can't get power to Power 3 unless you've taken 2 and 1. But some of them work differently. So you get a power here, and you get a power here and here. Both get powered from the first one. So you can choose, okay, I want to go in this direction. Now that one may go 1, 1, 1, and you're done. But this one over here may go this way, it branches out, and then it branches back to the other tree, so you get to that third power from a different route. And there's flowcharts for every single one of these selections. And each of these different 5 legacies has 3 different routes they can go. So you can mix and match, and there's a lot of options here. So you could really tailor yourself to be a different kind of wild blood. You could have an entire wild blood party and nobody would be the same as each other, which would be very interesting. In the back, there's monsters in here. They talk about magic. It's pretty much the standard D20 Modern magic system. They have some custom magic items and a few custom spells, but nothing earth-shattering, just things that were specific to the campaign. Now, there are things about this that I didn't like, for example. The stress roll is a unique mechanic. The legacy roll is a unique mechanic. The stress roll is literally you're trying to resist the wear and tear on your body. Why isn't that a fort save? The legacy resistance. It's about trying to maintain your humanity and not drift towards this genetic heritage of yours. Why isn't that a will save? I think adding in these additional unique traits, mechanics, made things more complex. And there's a lot of different legacy traits. I was kind of like, wow, there's a whole lot of stuff to read here, man. I didn't read all of them. I just kind of like, my eyes started to blur after a while. It reminded me a lot of the Tome of Battle from 3.5, in that lots of abilities to play with. Maybe too many for me to really want to deal with. And I didn't much like Tome of Battle. For me, I saw the writing on the wall and the direction that 4th edition was going, and I didn't want to be on board with that. But some people love that book. This has a very similar feeling. It also, in many ways, to me, felt a lot like the Monty Cook World of Darkness book. And they did 5 different traditions, and you could go and customize your character within each of those different traditions. That was the vampire and the awakened and the demons and things like that. So there are things in here that, to me, felt a whole lot like other games. For me, the biggest issue with this book is it felt like there's a lot of awesome ideas in here, a lot of unique things, a lot of stuff that you could use, but it felt like a bunch of individual game mechanics as opposed to a cohesive whole. And that was a little off-putting for me. Now, I can't say this is a bad product. It's not. I think it's well presented. I like some of the art in here. A lot of it's very, very interesting. Some's a little on the plain side, but some of it's very nice. Again, I like the cover art in particular. If you like the D20 mechanic, this is going to be familiar to you. If you like D20 Modern, this is going to be even more familiar to you. So I recommend it for those that like that thing, are looking for some ideas, and want to add stuff to their campaign. If you liked Monty Cook's World of Darkness, this might be something you're interested in. If you like World of White Wolf's Scion, might be something you're interested in. If you don't like the Scion mechanics, I haven't read Scion yet. I've got a copy. I just haven't printed it out and read it yet. I will do that eventually. Pardon me. But again, I think that some of the complexity is just a little unnecessary. It falls a little outside my traditional, where I say that D20 mechanic is my sweet spot. This is a little too far onto the complex end for my taste. I think they could have simplified it. But overall, I think it's a good product. I really am glad I have it in my collection. So if these are things that you enjoy, give it a read.